some random. Destiny, would you introduce?
Sure, I'm Destiny. I am a single mom of 2 boys. They're 3 and 6, and I work here in town at the Texas Maritime Museum. So I struggle finding childcare, first of all, people who are available, and then second of all, like Diane mentioned, when someone offers that they might be available, it might not always be someone that I trust or that I know well enough to trust. And then also there's always a struggle with it being affordable. It gets expensive, especially being a single income family. So that's been, I was very excited to get a good job and stuff, but there are days that I worry about having to call in just because I don't have childcare. And then, of course, I worry about not being able to hold my job due to childcare. So that's kind of my struggle.
Sometimes people think childcare is just a family situation, a family problem, but it affects our whole community. If you're able to keep a good job, then you're able to be, a contributing member of society, and if you lose your job because of childcare, then it negatively impacts not only your family, but the whole community. Yeah.
Yes.
Lucy, tell us about yourself and your situation and your childcare needs.
Hi, everybody. I'm Lucy Richmond. I have 2 children. I have a 4-year-old, he'll be 4 next week, and I have a 6, almost 7-year-old. And so, childcare has been very difficult for us. The main thing for us is the cost of childcare around here. To get them into a daycare, I had mine in there for about a month because I was told that the government was going to be able to fund it for families that made under a certain amount of money, and we fell under that criteria. And then a month in, we found out we did not qualify because my husband, he works, but his job wasn't essential enough, if that makes sense. He owns his own lawn business, and so they did not think that was essential. So because he was working and I'm working, but his job wasn't essential, they would rather him not work, and then I would be able to get that assistance. Anyway, so we had to take them out. I've actually been at home all week. I don't have someone to watch them. Thankfully, I have a boss that understands, but I'm worried about if there's going to come a day where he's like, okay, enough is enough. It's just, I never know one day to the next if I'm going to have someone. So it's stressful. It's not only stressful because of the situation, but I can't focus on my work and watch them at the same time. It's just there's a lot of distraction, and so I'm really struggling in that area. We've had people say they would watch them, but it's like, I can watch them on Monday, I can watch them on Wednesday, but never like a full-time thing. And so they don't have a routine. And that's important. That's important for kids their age. Another thing is even a lot of the daycares here, since it's summer, they don't really teach them. It's just playing. And right now, I believe it's so crucial for them to get any kind of teaching because they were not in school last year. The whole virus really set them back. And so, I don't know, I'm looking for something affordable and something that is like that they can learn. Like they're not just going to play, you know.
You're looking
That's
for
important.
quality. You're looking for
Yes.
quality, and Kathy's going to talk about that a little bit. Now, young children learn through play, but not just
No.
sitting in front of the
Especially right
TV
now.
and laughing at cartoons kind of play.
Right.
So
Right.
Kathy's going to talk about that in a second. Something I do want to touch on, though, is you talked about government assistance. Texas Workforce has a subsidy program that can be used to help families pay for childcare. And I don't know if either of you have applied for that, but the centers typically have limited numbers of spaces available for the workforce funding. And so it helps some families, but not everybody.
Doesn't help everybody. Yeah.
I actually just reached out to them, I think it was last week. There are certain requirements about how many hours you work and if you're going to school or not with that. And so I just qualified for it starting July 1st. I got more hours at my job. But there's a wait list for actually getting assistance with workforce. I'm on that wait list, but there's also only so many places that accept it. So the only one that we have in town that I have found is First Learning Tree. And so once you get qualified through workforce off of their wait list, then you have to be on First Learning Tree's wait list.
Yes.
And they have a wait list for kids and for their classes in general. And then the wait list for workforce is even longer because they only accept so many of those. So I'm on several wait lists right now, but nothing has came through. And I also thought about mentioning another reason that I've had trouble is also, like you had mentioned, Lucy, about not just finding someone who's going to stick them in front of the TV. I want quality, and my older son is autistic, and that has also been a problem. I reached out to a daycare who is one town over from us, and when I mentioned autism, there was kind of a little pushback about if there will be behavior issues, then we'll have to call you to pick him up every day. And I just feel like if you're a child care place, that's something that you should expect and learn how to work with, so that particular place, they actually have an opening right now for him, but that was very discouraging, and I don't want to send him to a place like that. And they also had a problem with me bringing his specific lunch rather than what they serve the other kids, because a big issue of his is sensory processing, and he only eats very few things, and they just didn't seem too okay with that. So of course I'm not going to send him somewhere that just over the phone without even meeting them, they already seem to have a little pushback of his needs. So.
And from an employer's perspective, how is that going to impact your ability to focus on your work if you're stressed out and worried about how your child is doing?
Yeah, that also, yes.
Kathy, do you want to jump in and share with us a little bit about, what does quality childcare look like? And introduce yourself, please.
Let me first say that, sometimes I think we have to ask ourselves, okay, why do we even care? Women have been having babies forever, and women know how to raise babies and that kind of thing. And that's true. I can tell we got two really good moms right here. But these days, because of economic issues, most moms need to work, and so we need those folks out there who can help us take care of our children. We know that the first 3 years for sure, but even past that into the, age 6 or 7 are the most crucial years in terms of brain development. And so what's going on in that child's environment is actually wiring that child's brain and in ways that will affect that child long into, further into his life, into adulthood, that kind of thing. And so, that's one of the reasons why we really care about it. And then you've got school-age children too, as you were saying, and those kids need quality care early, but then they need that quality to continue, you know, as they go into the school year. So this is just the tip of the iceberg, but here are a few things about what it would look like to have a child in a quality family child care program. You've already mentioned the TV, but I would include devices. You know, that the children would not be in front of a TV. They would be not holding devices all day. You know, one of the things with sensory is a lot of kids are developing sensory issues because, you know, when you have a screen, you're doing this, and they're not playing with mud and sand and things like that. Now, a child who has autism is going to be an exception to that. But other children need to have that experience with those textures. So that's part of it. Another thing would be you would see children playing with loose parts. We have a saying in early childhood, the child should be more than the toy. You know, so you don't want the toys that are ding, 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 you know, lights flashing and all that. The child manipulates the toy. So that would be something you would be seeing. Another thing would be in terms of creative art materials, that you would have open-ended creative art materials, not coloring books, not worksheets, not that kind of thing. Open-ended manipulatives, you're talking about your school-age child missing some of this stuff, math and those kinds of things. Again, children don't really learn math through workbooks and worksheets. They learn math through playing with blocks, playing with Legos, loose parts. That's how they learn about science and math and that kind of thing. Let me see, what else did I have on my notes here? As much time outdoors as possible. I know we're in the heat of summer, but children who spend a lot of time outdoors in nature actually do better later in life when they're learning to read. I don't know, you know, there's a connection there. Like I said, this is the tip of the iceberg. We could do a whole session on each of these things individually.
Yeah.
And again, I think we need to go back to, you know, we kind of know what's right for children. And somewhere along the line, we got kind of sucked in by publishers and manufacturers who make money, you know, making expensive things for toys. But if we just look around us, we have the materials in the room, and that's just some of the. That's not even talking about the quality of the caregiver. So I don't know, Diane, if you want me to go into that at all, but that's kind of like the tip of the iceberg.
Yeah, Kathy, if you would, because Lucy, you know, expressed a concern, a very valid concern. Well, how do I know my children are learning? You know, so if they're playing with loose parts and finger painting, how does a parent know that learning's happening?
Yes, yeah, and that really depends on a caregiver having some knowledge of child development and early childhood education, knowing how to observe what a child is doing, know something about pre-math, you know, development of pre-math skills, development of pre-literacy skills, development of language skills, development of social skills, kind of have that background, and then look at a child and be able to ask, you know, a question, or say, for instance, I know, you know, one of the things you hear a lot when children do artwork is, oh, that's so pretty. And what if instead we were to say, well, look at you, you used a lot of blue, you know, over here, and look at that line, you connected the blue with the green, and look at you with the blue through the yellow. What happened? What color did you get? Those are the kind, you know, and that's just one little teeny example. But to be able to ask those kinds of questions of children, but also to be able to see children as children and know what's normal, and not look at a child and think, oh, because that child hit that child is a bad child. No, that child is a perfectly normal child, and we need to help that child learn what are the socially accepted ways of, you know, expressing anger, getting what you want, that kind of thing.
And in most good early childhood programs, the teachers are going to save samples of the children's work, and they're going to understand what they're seeing. So Lucy, for example, you know, if your little one starts out scribbling with a crayon, and then 2 or 3 months later, there are specific lines that are not just scribbles. And then a little bit later, maybe there's something that kind of looks like letters, you know, so you can save those samples, and the early childhood professional is going to understand, like, oh, look, this is what's happening here with this child's development of writing. You know, they're beginning to write, and here's some of the precursors of making letters that I can read, right?
Yeah.
And so that's why it's so important, I think, for us to get early childhood professional people who are trained and understand child development and understand how to scaffold children's learning, to sit beside them while they're building with blocks and have those conversations and ask those open-ended questions that help them go to the next level of understanding.
And you know, Diane, I think there was a time when we didn't expect children to learn to read before the age of 6 or 7, and we were right about that. That's developmentally when children are ready to learn to read or write. Somehow it's been pushed down, and so we need those child development specialists to say, no, wait, we're not going to teach 3-year-olds to read. This is how we're going to set the stage for them to be able to learn to read when they're ready.
Yeah.
So, Rockport, Aransas County, I have an idea. I have an idea. If you're staying at home with your children, you have a child or 2 or 3, and you love being a stay-at-home parent, and that's your thing, and you love kids, and you love helping them learn and grow, consider opening up a family childcare business. Not under the table, not illegal. The state of Texas actually is starting to look a little more closely at people who are providing childcare in their homes without being regulated. The importance of regulation is what we've been talking about. Are the kids going to be safe? Are they going to be in an appropriate environment? Are they going to be in a place where the caregiver has some training and some skills and some knowledge? And all of those pieces go into regulation. It's not hard to do. You know, if you want to care for a few children in your home, you already have your mortgage or your rent, you already have your utilities. It's not an expensive proposition. So if somebody watching and listening to us says, no, I could do that, contact the Children's Coalition of Aransas County. You can find us on Facebook. You can give us a call at 361-255-3000. We are here to hold your hand virtually right now and help you set up your program, help you get started, help you with your fees and your training. So it's not a hard thing to do. It's such an important thing to do for our community. And especially right now, our community needs you.
Yes.
Okay. Well, ladies, thank you so much for joining us today. And talk to everybody you know. Spread the word that family child care is a thing. And it's a really important thing. And another thing, for parents' perspective, you know, why should you choose quality childcare, regulated childcare? Well, not only because it's going to be better for your children, it's going to be better for your pocketbook. You get to claim it on your taxes if you're paying a regulated program. So that's another reason to choose somebody who's got all the credentials and all their ducks in a row. All right, Kathy, do you have any closing words?
I did, and it just went out of my head. Oh, I know, I had an idea. It was perhaps the coalition could start a Facebook page that really is focused on talking about family childcare in this area.
Good idea. You want to do that? Okay, we'll make something like that happen. You guys, thank you so very much, and we will be praying for you that a wonderful child care provider shows up to provide great experiences for your children and to give you peace while you go to work.
All right.
You're doing a good job.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
Thank
Bye,
you.
y'all.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
What?